Welcome to My Wild Magic with me, your host, Adrienne Cobb. Join me on a journey back home to your truest self in this inspiring, enlightening, and entertaining show. After a near-death experience in a car crash at 15 years old, I made a choice to stay and brought back with me 3 simple truths that I found from the other side. Love is all there is. Our time is over here quicker than we think, and we all have a purpose, a soul blueprint to fulfill. On this show, you will find a higher purpose, a creative expression, and unique soul attributes that you can bring forth into this world. Stay tuned with me for the next hour and find your higher purpose on My Wild Magic, starting now. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being on the show today. I'm Adrienne Cobb, and you are listening to My Wild Magic with Adrienne on Transformation Talk Radio. So today the theme is Indigo Soul Tribe, and that really kind of speaks to anybody out there who is coming in from that indigo energy where they're having special traits. Those special traits can be high levels of empathy or intuition, sometimes high levels of creativity, communication with plants, animals, communication with, doing healing work and things like that. So the indigo spirit, the indigo energies that come in, I'd imagine a lot of people who actually do listen to Transformation Talk Radio might be kind of in that genre of souls coming in, or you might know some people who have this kind of gift as well. But all of us, I feel, do have different types of intuition, different layers of intuition, however we want to look at it. And now with all this new earth energy kind of rolling in on us as we come into 2022, I wanted to go over some things that might help people who have high levels of sensitivity, on whatever level they might have it, whether it's, emotional empathy, mental empathy, planetary earth empathy, plants, animals, nature kingdom empathy, the collective conscious empathy. I really find it hard to not come across somebody who doesn't have some of those types of empathic abilities at this point. So we're going to start with covering some of those as we start off the new year energy here. And one of my favorite ones I really like a lot is it is mental empathing. And so for people who are highly emotionally empathic, what happens is that we run a lot of emotions through our body. So we might pick up emotions from other people, situations, environments. And if you don't have like a good filter or good energetic boundaries or a stronger sense of just self or maybe even groundedness, then what happens is we'll pick up on maybe a partner or a friend or a group of people that we work with. We'll start picking up on the emotions of these other people. And before you know it, you're running things that aren't necessarily your emotions at all, but you don't realize it. So you walk away feeling maybe a little bit more, whatever emotion is going on, depressed or anxious or whatever. You can also pick up on physical empathy as well, like people who might have a headache or a stomach ache or something going on, lower back pain, as well as thought forms. So that's going to be the mental empathy when you're picking up on people's thought forms. Usually the ones that are going to be more bothersome to us are going to be negative thought forms. So, you have different aspects of that are going on. And because we're an energetic being and we have an aura, which is an energetic aspect of us that does pick up on the emotional energies of others. And then we have a causal body, which picks up on the mental thought forms and energy going on. And then we have our kind of light body or our etheric body that kind of picks up on energy that's going on in the physical realm. So we're energetically all kind of connected through these extended energy fields. So you got your physical body, your, light body, your astral body, causal body, higher etheric bodies, etc. So you can imagine that we're all kind of connected, and they've done tons of experiments where if you like on a simple note, like if you were to send a plant an image or a feeling that you really don't like it, or you're going to rip it out by its roots, or you're going to set it on fire, plants, when they have little electrodes on them, the plant's nervous system will start reacting and picking up harm could be coming its way. Same with animals and stuff like that. So people having, maybe a higher, more complex nervous system and ability to process and consciousness, you can imagine if, a simpler form of life like the plants are picking it up, people do at a much, maybe more conscious level as well. So we do pick that up, like when you're driving in the car and maybe somebody cuts you off in traffic and you get upset and you send a thought form to them, or you're really mad or upset, they feel it, so they may not consciously know it, but their energy field picks up on whatever it is you sent them. So it's really important to kind of watch our thoughts. And I think that coming into the new year, this new earth energy that we're working with now, one of the things is we're learning how to master our energy field on a more vibratory level, and really to move from learning our life lessons with karma, which is the whole action reaction, like I'm going to send energy your way, and then somehow that energy is going to come back to me, right? So if you send out a bad thought form, a bad energy, blame energy, victim energy, whatever, that's going to kind of come back your way. So in the new earth energy, what we're actually learning is we're learning how to access our life lessons, our soul life lessons, more through joy. And so it's going to require kind of being a little bit more conscious of our energy, our thoughts, our emotions, and being in integrity and kind of congruent with what we're thinking, feeling, seeing, doing, and knowing on a higher level of consciousness. So these are some of the, what we're going to go through today is just some energetic tools that really help you to kind of clean your energy up a little bit better, and to feel safer in your body and more grounded, so that you're not sort of being overly influenced by other people's energy field who may not have their energy necessarily cleaned up. Maybe they're sending negative energy your way. Or maybe they're projecting or engaging your unconscious to kind of play something out with you. So for people who are highly sensitive, we tend to fall into that pretty easily without really meaning to, and become kind of reactive to that. The other side of the spectrum is people who are highly sensitive, whether that's psychically, mentally, emotionally, physically, but their intuition's somewhat kind of developed, is that sometimes we'll actually withdraw from the world. Like it's easier just to hang out with plants and animals or by ourselves. So we can actually withdraw. The downside to that, though, is that some of the gifts that we have that we may have come in to actually share with others, we don't really get to develop them or offer them unconditionally to others. So you might be withdrawing yourself from the world to try to protect yourself because you don't know better ways to handle it. Or you might be overreactive, or you might be over giving or over caring. But I find that any of those extremes usually take us out of our center, right? So with mental empathing, I want you to imagine for a moment, you just might want to close your eyes or just sort of tune in for a moment. I want you to imagine when somebody, try to think of a time when you've had somebody sending negative energy your way. So just breathing in and noticing what it might have felt like if somebody was angry at you or sending bad vibes, bad energy your way. Maybe they were gossiping about you or upset for some reason, or just being cantankerous, hateful, whatever it is. And I want you to notice, just going back into that memory to the best of your ability, and notice how it feels in your body. So just noticing how that feels in your body when somebody sends negative energy, whether they're conscious of it or not. Could have been something from school growing up, or a friend, or somebody you don't really like or care for. And so kind of scanning your body and noticing what that feels like to you. And if you feel it kind of vibrating in your chest, or if it gives you kind of a tight feeling in your head, your shoulders, the pit of your stomach. Okay, so that would be, taking on that energy full on without any way of discerning it. And with your aura, again, I don't think that people necessarily consciously mean to do this, but people use statements like, oh, somebody I cared about did this and I felt stabbed in the back, or I felt punched in the stomach. I felt slapped across the face. I felt like just throwing up. I felt like they were hooking my aura. And so energetically, what happens with the aura is that when people have different thoughts or emotions that aren't of a very high vibration, we do kind of throw our energy around at people without realizing the effect it has, right? And as we move into the new earth frequencies, energy is going to become what we're going to become way more conscious of energy, because we're going to kind of like a lighter vibration. So the lighter you get in vibration, the more you start to feel the subtleties of energy. The denser you get, the less you can feel it. So with the collective consciousness, in a lot of ways, maybe being more dense, a lot of times we may not have always felt that unless you were indigo, super sensitive, empathic, intuitive, etc. But now more people are going to become more sensitive to energy, and they may have a hard time putting words to it at times. So with the aura, somebody sometimes, if let's say they're being manipulative, they might kind of hook your aura because they're wanting something from you. And sometimes when people get mad or hurt or scared, they'll push against your aura, like with their thoughts, their mind, their emotions, negative energy. It's like they almost kind of throw something at you like a dagger. Like somebody looked at me and it felt like they were just shooting daggers. Well, energetically, they actually are shooting daggers, and you can almost feel it coming at your aura, right? And children and animals are usually super sensitive to this. So those figures of speech that we use, you want to pay attention to them when you feel that around somebody, because more than likely, based on the type of thought forms they're having, the type of emotions they're having, how they direct their energy, it's more than likely kind of happening the way you're sensing it happening to you. That's kind of a scary thought, actually, right? So and we may do it to others as well. So you, again, like somebody cut you off in traffic and you just slam them with negative energy. So you really want to start watching that in your energy field. All right, so when you go to mentally empath, what you're doing is you're actually moving from your emotional body to your mental body, and you're asking your higher self, when you're mentally empathing, your higher self will put a field of energy out around you in about a 20, I don't know, I usually feel it at about a 21-foot radius around me. And so when somebody sends energy, like when I go in and I watch it on the inner levels, I had a healer show me how to do this. And what he did was he literally sent spears my way. The first time I felt it, and he was just practicing with me. So he wasn't meaning harm, but he wanted to show me the feeling, right? So he sent it to me, and I literally felt like not good. You know what I mean? Something had entered my aura. When I put up the mental shield, the mentally empathing, just by saying I'm mentally empathing, it's like it drops at that barrier. So we're going to take a quick break and come back and practice with that a little bit more to show you how to do that. So stay tuned for some other cool tools that we have for our energy field. Welcome back. So we are talking about the different ways of managing our energy in a more conscious way, since we're energetic beings having a physical experience, and how when we send out negative thought forms or emotions, that people actually do feel it, even if we think it's silent in our head or silent because we didn't express it, doesn't mean that we haven't sent energy, such as shooting daggers with our eyes or hooking somebody's aura, or feeling stabbed in the back, that kind of thing. So with mental empathy, it's really just a statement that you're using. And again, take that same memory that I asked you to tap into a moment ago. So there was a memory that I said, hey, feel into some place when you felt like somebody didn't have very good intentions or feelings towards you, right? And you knew it and it didn't make you feel good in your body. Okay, so I want you to take that same memory now, and I want you to go back into it to the best of your ability. And now I want you to be in that memory with that situation or person. And you're just going to use the commanding statement, I'm mentally empathing my relationship with that person, or I'm mentally empathing my energy. So I'm mentally empathing. I usually wake up in the morning every day and I'm mentally empathing, the world and everybody in it, because you don't really know who you're going to come across, right? Like somebody driving that you don't even know. So I'm mentally empathing, but try to do it just with that one person or situation. It might be a group. I'm mentally empathing that person or that group. And I want you to notice if your body feels different this time when that energy is coming at you. And if you just feel a little bit more relaxed, more protected, more at peace, it's a subtle thing, but the more you practice it, the more you're going to begin to notice the difference. I know I'm doing it for myself. And to me, it just feels like it puts a buffer between me and that person. It feels like they're on the outside of like this ring of white light. It doesn't seem to bother me as much. And my body, my nervous system feels way more calm. When you're around people that you feel like you're being negative thoughts or vibes are being sent your way, it's hard for your nervous system to really relax, which of course affects your breathing and everything else. And you want to be able to have deeper breaths. And the ideal breath is really kind of on a yogi breath at about 5.5 breaths in, down into the belly, and 5.5 breaths out. And so let's just practice that for a minute as well. It's another energy tool. I'm breathing in 5.5 breaths. And I'm breathing out at 5.5 breaths. We're going to do one more time. Usually 3 is the magic charm on getting your nervous system to balance out. I'm breathing in 5.5 breaths. And I'm breathing out to the count of 5.5 breaths. And you can feel how that has a whole calming effect on your nervous system too. They say 5.5 because really it's like probably a count of 5, and then there's like an emptiness, and then it's 5 in and an emptiness. So there's like an emptiness on either side of those breaths, right? So that's another good way to kind of regulate and manage stress, anxieties. But my point about the breathing was that when we breathe really shallow because we're afraid and we're not feeling very safe in our body, it really works against our physical health, our sleep, mental, capacities, emotional capacities, all the organs in your body, your ability to be resilient to life, your ability for your body to heal, have a strong immune system, to have vitality. So having a deeper breath in your body is really important. But like I said, I know for a lot of people who are highly sensitive, they tend to breathe a little bit more shallow and run a little bit more anxious and sometimes even depressed because they don't feel safe in their body. And it's more like an energetic safety. Sometimes it can be physical issues as well, but a lot of times it's energetic. And then on top of that, they don't know how to explain why they feel that way about that person, because the person's like, I'm not doing anything, but actually they are, whether they're going to own it or be conscious about it or not. So when you just kind of start your day, or maybe you feel kind of challenged, I know if I'm going to be flying in airports or around large groups of people for any reason, which doesn't happen a whole lot these days, but if I am going to be around large groups of people, I want to mentally empath, because you got a lot of thoughts and a lot of emotions going on if you're going to an event. And it just helps. I know that if I was to go to a concert or to a mall or to an airport or whatever, I get overwhelmed kind of easily, just because for me, I do intuitional work for a living and I do readings with people. So it's very open all the time. But even if you weren't doing that all the time, if you run very highly empathic and sensitive, which a lot of the younger generation comes in with that kind of built in now, this is a good thing to do. So again, the command is that I'm mentally empathing my day and everybody in it. I'm mentally empathing everybody at this concert I'm at. I'm mentally empathing everybody I'm on this plane with. I'm mentally empathing this person that I'm having an issue with right now. So that's a great way to kind of begin. And like I said, all that's really happening, just think that you're giving your emotional body a break from taking the brunt of everything that you feel, because the emotional body takes on more usually. And instead, you're asking your higher self, because the emotional body relates a lot to the inner child too, But when you mentally empath, you're using your higher mental body, your causal body, your higher mental body, and that engages your higher self. And your higher self is like, oh, they want to mentally empath. Whew, I'm going to put this great, awesome field of light around the mental body, which is going to catch and filter a lot of the stuff. Now, at the same time, because a lot of the work I do with people doing readings with them is I do need to read their emotions in order to help them, see certain things. So what I've noticed is, in case people are worried about losing their emotional empathy, that doesn't actually happen at all. So what happens is the mental empathy creates this ring of light about 21 inches or 21 feet around your body. It creates this awesome filter to where I feel safe in my body. I'm breathing deeper. I feel like I have my own space. I'm not taking on other people's stuff. But yet when I tune into somebody or I'm around people, I actually am much more clear about their emotions. I'm just not taking it on personally. I'm not empathing it and taking it on. And a lot of times with emotional empaths, they don't know how to stop empathing. They don't know how to give themselves that break or that buffer. And that's what the mental empathing does. So I can actually tune in emotionally to people and have much greater clarity because I'm no longer taking it personal and running it through my body. And my energy level can stay a lot higher because I'm not running all these other people's emotions and stuff through my body. And so it helps my life force be higher because I'm not processing for them whatever's in their pain body or whatever they got going on. So it helps your energy level. It also boosts your immune system because your immune system and your energy field are very connected. So when you have a very strong energetic boundary around your body, your physical immune system actually is much stronger too. And so for sometimes people who are high emotional empaths, they may suffer from a lot of what we would, sort of say autoimmune issues, mystery illnesses, things that doctors can't quite put their finger on. And that's because their energy field has been kind of run down and the immune system is kind of compromised because of that. So this actually does help boost your immune system, get your life force back, and create a little bit of breathing room so that you actually know what your thoughts are and what your feelings are, which goes a long way since it's your life, So along with that, mentally empathing is, and I learned that technique from Jeffrey Allen. Nope, sorry, not Jeffrey Allen. I'm going to teach you another one from Jeffrey Allen. I learned that one from Russell Forsyth. You can look him up, russellforsyth.com. He teaches a lot of different energy tools and stuff. So with the mental empathing, I highly recommend it. You start your day with it, or if you're feeling a bit challenged in the moment, and just immediately kind of notice how your body will feel more clear instantly, right? And then try to practice doing some of that deeper breathing where I'm breathing into the count of 5.5, out to the count of 5.5. So if you're running anxious, nervous, depressed, anything, that breathing is going to regulate and balance your body as well. Once you start to clear up your space a little bit, another thing that's super, super helpful, which I find that people who are highly empathic or intuitive do not do because they're so busy taking on everybody else's stuff. And it's like they're just sort of fine-tuned towards tuning into other people's energy just naturally. So another really positive thing to do to get yourself kind of back in alignment is you just want to ask, how do I feel? Because that's you also taking up space in your body. And I find that I like kind of waking up in the morning and just asking the question, how do I feel? And it's not about anything in particular. It's just, how do I feel? Right. And it just depends. And whatever it is, I have acceptance about, knowing that all parts of you have a right to be heard. And we're just opening up with compassion and curiosity within ourselves. It kind of taps into the soul. It taps into the emotional body. It taps into the subconscious. And you're just saying, how do I feel? And then throughout the day, you may want to check into that. Now, if there's a specific thing going on in your life that you have that you're trying to gain information on, then, you can ask the question, how do I feel? Because again, as a high empath, you're going to be so used to what everybody else wants around you that your answer might be more influenced by what somebody else wants without even knowing what you want. You'll think that's what you want, but it's only because you didn't ask yourself the question, do you really want that or not? So how do I feel is like, it's like an I am statement. It's like you're finally coming into that you have your own existence here. You have your own sense of self. And so just noticing that sense of how do I feel? The other way of asking that question, if you're trying to figure out something you got to do, is what's most loving for me? That's another one that empaths, because they're so usually loving and wanting connection, particularly star beings are wanting connection, that they will tune into what other people want without really knowing. Angelic people, star beings, those are really the two types of tribes of light, or people who resonate, that do that a lot. You can go to my website, mywildmagic.com. Again, that's mywildmagic.com. Take the free quiz and check out which tribe of light you work on, that you work with, and some of the other meditation tools I have. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. Adrienne, you're listening to My Wild Magic with Adrienne, and we are talking about different energetic techniques to help sort of manage your energy a little better in a world that's all based on energy, but yet everything looks kind of physical. The downside to that is that sometimes people don't always acknowledge, particularly for people who are sensitives, intuitives, empaths, that the invisible world isn't always really acknowledged, unless it's very literal, or somebody literally threw a dagger at you, or somebody literally, stabbed you in the back, or, sent it, whatever. They're not registering the subtleties of sending a negative thought or an emotion to somebody. So again, the mental empathing is one thing we've been talking about today, and highly recommend practicing that. And then going along with that is that when you start to feel safer in your body, you want to begin to really start noticing, how do I feel, and registering that. It's one of the ways that you can start connecting to your own I am presence, the energy of your soul, your inner child. There's different aspects of consciousness that we dwell in. And when you ask how you feel specifically, not necessarily your emotional reaction, but how do I feel? Feelings are a little bit deeper and more in the heart. You start to have a relationship to yourself, which we oftentimes miss out on, particularly as empaths. It's not that we aren't aware of all of our emotions all the time. It's just that sometimes those emotions aren't even ours. So how do I feel? And then again, the second way of kind of interacting with that is, I wonder what's most loving for me in this situation. Should I eat broccoli or spinach? What's most loving for me? Should I call this person or not? What's most loving for me? Should I go to bed at this time or that time? So when you start kind of working that muscle of how do I feel and what's most loving for me in this scenario, and you actually start putting yourself in the middle of your own life, because it is your life to be in the middle of, you have a greater sense of self to be able to, it's unconditionally loving. You're treating yourself unconditionally loving. And then with other people, you're able to be unconditionally honest. So it actually, when you start taking better care of your energy by noticing how you feel, what's most loving for you, mentally empathing so that you have a sense of self, feeling safer in your body, boosting your immune system, all these cool things we've talked about, that you are able to maintain a state of unconditional love. And as we come into this new world, this new earth energy, the new earth frequencies, we're moving from a conditionally loved based world, which is where karma happens, action, reaction, and karma, and playing things out with people, to the frequency of learning our life lessons through joy. And the way we kind of make that shift is that we're moving into an unconditional love space versus conditional love space. And souls that usually come in highly sensitive, highly conscious, highly empathic, usually are coming in already aware of unconditional love. And because a lot of the world has been learning through conditional love, it's very awkward, like it doesn't match very well. But now the earth itself, this new frequency, is literally moving towards unconditional love. So all the gifts that you have with unconditional love are going to be at the forefront. They're going to be in an even better position now. All these gifts that you had are going to be more aware, and the rest of the world is going to have to kind of catch up with you now, you see? So, unconditional love, keeping in mind that it's just you noticing how you feel and what your truth is. Like, you have to slow down enough to even figure out, what is my truth? And for empaths, that's usually a harder question to answer than what you might imagine. So the more you do that, the more you're working that muscle, that you're coming back into the remembrance of living your life in unconditional love for yourself. And it feels amazing, which again boosts your immune system and it boosts your energy level on so many different levels. And it opens you up to lover above energy and synchronicity of miracles. So the more you do this, you're putting yourself in a very good energetic flow of life, where life is working more for you than against you. And when we don't listen to ourselves, life usually gets harder. Our physical body breaks down more, our finances break down more, our relationships break down more, because when we're not listening to ourselves, how do I feel what's most unconditionally loving? When we're not listening at that deeper level, then what happens is that we're kind of getting away from our centeredness. We get further and further away, maybe more influenced by other people or other situations or anxieties. And the further away we get, the louder the universe has to be to get our attention that we're out of balance. But the more we just choose to listen, come into the middle path, come into that more energy of our own Christ consciousness and that inner energy, the more we come into center with that, and we're listening simply to ourself, which is listening to our spirit and our own energy, our soul, then from there, everything starts to, the universal flow of feeling supported and sustained, supplied, abundant, gratitude, all of that begins to flow our direction. You get away from yourself, you get off track, it goes the opposite direction. You come to center, which is as easy as doing that 5.5 second breath. So the minute you start rhythmically breathing, that in and of itself will bring you back into path. So it's literally that simple. And some of these energetic tools will just kind of help along the way, I guess. So with unconditional love, it's not something that you can give to somebody. That's one of the misconceptions about unconditional love. You can be unconditionally loving within yourself, and that has a generosity of spirit and compassion for others, but I can't give you unconditional love. I can't make you happy. I can't make you feel loved, right? So the way unconditional love works is if you stay super present within yourself, in terms of being unconditionally loving within yourself by saying, how do I feel? What's most loving for me in this moment? And you're taking all that into account, you're choosing a path of unconditional love, and then your entire life begins to be in that vibrational resonance, and it works really well. When we work really hard at giving other people their way, a lot of times we're not listening to ourselves, and we're playing out a conditional response and something from our own pain body, and it becomes karmic and usually plays out painfully in some way. You know, it just doesn't ever really go that well. So what you can give to others is unconditional honesty. So if I'm choosing to listen to how I feel and what's most loving for me, and I'm centered in my heart, and then I tell you whatever that is, this is what's going on for me, this is how I feel, this is what I'm asking for, this is what I don't like, whatever that conversation is, I find that when I drop into my heart and I'm being unconditionally with myself, that it's so honest and pure, without without an agenda, without an issue attached to it, that people usually hear it and don't really need to argue, because it's just the truth. And it's an odd thing about human beings is that when they hear the truth, they actually get calmer. So a lot of times we're afraid to tell people what's unconditionally really going on for us. But when we honor that, it actually honors the other person. So the gift we give another from unconditional love, which is this new earth way of being in the world now, is we give them unconditional honesty. And you can only give unconditional honesty to another person. And then, of course, it's unconditional. So you have to let them respond however they're going to. And sometimes people need a hot minute to kind of catch up with whatever it is you're saying, especially if you've had a certain type of connection with them. So give people the space to process however they will. it's unconditional honesty that they can do what they want with it. But I find that most of the time, people are actually, they resonate with it. They can hear the truth on a soul level. And even though they may not, their personality may not like it or all of that, their soul actually knows you're telling them the truth. And it's coming from your heart, which is most loving. So again, the mental empathing helps to create some space, doing the breathing work, coming back into your body, asking, how do I feel? What's most loving for me? That gets you back in touch with yourself so that you're really living your life for you and with you versus externally outside of yourself, which causes a lot of problems. Okay, now this is another energy tool, and this one is from Jeffrey Allen. It is creating a permission rose between you and another person. So the permission rose is, you imagine this beautiful rose in front of you. I usually imagine it as white or golden, and it can be any color you want though. And this permission rose is in front of you, probably, let's say maybe, I don't know, about close to about 3 feet in front of you, probably about your arm's length, something like that. And you imagine this big rose in front of you, and it kind of creates this sort of like field of light, let's say. And what happens with the permission rose is pretty cool. I like it a lot because as empaths, we do tend to reach into other people's energy fields at times more than what we need to. So I think it a lot of times comes from our insecurities, our fears, our own imbalances. We're wanting to help so much, but sometimes we will actually overgive, overcare. And in order to do that, we kind of have to tune into another person's energy field to anticipate their feelings, their moods, and what's going on. So when you put up a permission rose, and again, it's just like a command, I'm calling forth a permission rose in front of me or with this person. And what happens is the first thing it does is it helps you stay in your own field of energy so that you don't overreach into somebody else's space, which empaths and intuitives sometimes can do. They're not meaning harm. They're just trying to anticipate other people's needs, wants, desires, but it is an overreaching that is sometimes maybe a bit out of balance and inappropriate, right? On the other hand, the permission rose gives a signal to somebody else not to reach into your energy field. Like, let's say somebody is, being overly sexual or overly curious or overly controlling or manipulative. They'll want to reach into your energy field. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment to go more into the cool world of the energy tools we're talking about. Different energy tools that you can use, particularly with high levels of sensitivity, empathy, intuition. So we're in the middle, like we just kind of went to the break. We were talking about the ability to create a permission rose in front of you. So again, it's another energetic tool because we all are energy before we were physical matter anyway. So having this energetic tool right in your energy field, and it's about at arm's length, kind of about here in your energy field. So, and you're just imagining with your head, you're doing it like a command of energy. So you're using your energy to command, because your energy creates things very easily. I'm commanding a permission rose in my energy field with this particular person, this group of people. Again, this is something I just like to start my day with. I'm mentally empathing and putting a permission rose into my energy field as I walk through my day. And I just kind of set it up at the beginning of my day that way. I might have to refresh it later if I feel like that energy's kind of dropped or kind of lessened a little bit. I might just boost it with that command again. Sometimes if you're around a lot of people, you might have to boost it 3 or 4 times, over the course of the day. So the permission rose, again, it gives yourself a healthy boundary and reminds you not to overly reach, overly get concerned, overly care, overly get involved with another person's energy. They have their own kind of energetic presence that they're responsible for. And sometimes people don't really like when you get that much in their energy field. And then if they really like when you overly get in their energy field, you're probably going to be taken advantage of anyway, and then feel kind of manipulated or used at the end. So it's really better just to kind of not go there. And so if somebody, if I choose to let you into my energy field, that's different. Like, let's say you're having a really deep conversation, or you're doing healing or counseling work with somebody, or you're being intimate with somebody, at that point, we may consciously choose to let people into our sacred space and vice versa, but that's an honor, right? And then what happens is, and this is the other part that sometimes empaths have a hard time with, is stepping back out of somebody's energy field. So particularly star beings and angelic beings want a lot of closeness, a lot of connection, a lot of closeness usually. And in doing that, they can almost sometimes get a little bit too smothering or too connected. So again, that permission rose kind of reminds you, oh, I've got my own space and it feels really good being in my own space. They've got their space and I'm not responsible for it. And that's really good too. And then when we choose to come together, in whatever way we're doing it, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, that feels great. But then we're going to let each other be in our own space again. It's just a super healthy thing to do. And people who have a lot of that indigo nature, particularly when you have sometimes with young kids or people who are highly emotionally connective and sensitive, they don't want to let go. Once they get into somebody's space, they don't really want to let go. So it's a great thing for you to do for yourself. It's a great thing to also teach people how to be with you. So when you put up that permission rose in front of you, unless I've given you permission, you'll kind of feel that there is kind of this really nice, healthy boundary. I'm not rejecting you. It's just a really nice, healthy boundary that just is kind of in place there. So again, it's for me not to overreach into your energy field. And it's for me to say, hey, don't overreach into my energy field. And if we choose to come together on something, that's great, but then we create space again. So super nice energy with that. Another thing that I like doing that's in that same vein of energy, and I learned this in teaching one of the quests that I teach, and that was working with Mary Magdalene's energy. And so sometimes you can have angels and you can have ascended masters that lend you certain energetic techniques as well that are super helpful. And one that I learned that kind of goes along with the permission rose, which I really like a lot, and that is the magenta rose. So now we're shifting a little bit. It's a magenta rose of Mary Magdalene. And you imagine your entire body. So the permission rose is kind of out in front of you and it kind of navigates your day, right? The magenta rose of Mary Magdalene, imagine almost being held in this, like the center of this magenta rose, right, of Mary Magdalene. And you're calling it in with her name because she's the one that kind of governs it. It's one of her tools in a sense that she's teaching us, lending us. And you can feel that it raises your level of consciousness and mastery. So it's like the permission rose, except for I feel it's a little bit different in the sense that it is kind of all around my body and it helps to raise consciousness. And it kind of works a lot also on the higher chakras and on the spiritual plane as well. So just try that on for a minute. We're just going to call it in. I'm calling into the magenta rose of Mary Magdalene and just feel that come in and around you and just noticing how that feels to you. It feels soothing, maybe peaceful. It feels energetic. That magenta rose of Mary Magdalene. And like I said, for me, I feel like it works in this world, but it also helps even on that higher energetic plane and higher chakras. So let's go back and practice with the permission rose for a moment, right? The one that's in front of us. Again, kind of a white or a golden or whatever color you see. It could be green. So I want you to imagine being around somebody that maybe you feel super connected with or close, maybe somebody who comes into your energy field too much, or maybe you go into their energy field too much. So just try to find a situation or a person where you would like to practice this with. So just tune into that for a moment and just notice who comes to mind. Maybe somebody you work with. It might be a friend or a family member, partner, child. And all I want you to do is just imagine I'm commanding forth, I'm calling in a permission rose between me and this person. I just practice it with one person first and see what that feels like. And just notice how it changes your energy field a little bit. So I'm calling in a permission rose between me and this person. And again, it's very subtle, but just notice the subtle feeling in your body when you do that. If you feel a little cleaner, if you feel a little stronger, more centered, grounded, more at peace in yourself, a little bit quieter in your head, because when we're overly connecting with people, that's kind of a problem too, right? So I find that if I don't run a whole lot of other people's emotions or thoughts or anxieties or depressions or pain body or whatever, I find that my whole energy field is a little bit quieter. And it took a little getting used to, because I was very used to the chaos, very used to the all the different emotions and energy. So at first it took a little getting used to. But after a while, I've noticed I kind of actually appreciate the silence. I appreciate the quieter, energetic space in my own energy field. And it leaves more room for me for creative projects or healthier relationships, or just resting, relaxing, doing things that I like to do, that kind of thing, right? So again, I'm calling in this permission rose between me and others, between me and this person, or walking throughout your day in the permission rose in front of you. And again, it just takes a little bit of practice, but you can kind of sense that energy, the subtleness of it, but it's actually quite powerful in its own way too. So these are some amazing little tools that I picked up along the way that I just want to share with you, that I hope you will practice with and that you'll enjoy them, and that they will help to strengthen your energy field, strengthen your way of being and just how you walk in the world, and enhancing your own soul blueprint, your own energy. So I would invite you to please look at my website, mywildmagic.com. You can take the free quiz there, figure out what kind of tribe of light you work with. It's really pretty fun to connect to your tribe of light on that level. I also offer a weekly meditation group. My Wild Magic membership does that. It has a whole library of really awesome meditations, working with ascended masters, archangels, and you're also held in a quantum prayer field throughout the month. So check out some of the stuff I have to offer. Thank you so much for being on the call today, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Thanks for tuning in to My Wild Magic with me, your host, Adrienne Cobb. Each one of us has a soul purpose on this earth and a higher purpose full of creative expression and unique soul attributes. Make sure to tune in next week on transformationtalkradio.com to continue your journey home to your truest self and pursue the path of unconditional self-love. If you would like to learn more about me, visit mywildmagic.com. Again, that's mywildmagic.com.